Today on the Mix Minute, we have Matt Cerritos, recording, mixing, Atmos engineer for artists like St.Vincent, Taylor Swift, Jeezy. He just did some stuff for Netflix, and we're going to give away some goodies to you guys and a whole lot more, so stay tuned. So today we're sitting here with my friend Matt. We have Steve, as usual, joining us from Nashville, Tennessee, where he resides. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Hello.
We are
Land of
in
barbecue.
the wonderful barbecue, yeah, and also Thai food. I was just there
What?
last week,
That
and I
doesn't make any
realized
sense
like
to me.
every time I've gotten Thai food in Nashville has been impeccable.
Where did you go?
I don't even remember. One of them
We
you
just
can
went to
go
a
in
new
my
one
like
that-
Google reviews.
Does it have a number in the name? Because I feel like that's like the best Mexican and the best Thai places are usually like it's like whatever, but then there's a number involved. It's like 888 or like
I'm
777.
gonna have to keep an eye out for
Yeah,
these.
those are always
it wasn't
the best.
a smiling elephant, was it?
777.
Yes. Or no,
Yeah.
no. I
Oh.
tried to go to that when it was closed.
Yeah, that was pretty
Oh,
good. I
didn't
just
know.
went there for the first time.
I wanted to. It was around the
It's
corner
good.
from a studio I visited. Today we are, however, at Just for the Record here in North Hollywood, California.
Mhm.
It's a beautiful studio. I'm familiar with it, not only because I've known Matt for a long time now, but also because every room has these beautiful PMC speakers, including a PMC Atmos room. How big is that Atmos room?
It's a 914. So it's got the 8.2s with the XBD for left and right, big old stack of subs, 8.2 for the center, and then the CI65s are in the wall.
Yeah.
Are pretty much immersing you in
Yeah.
in PMC.
Yeah, and it's Jochen, is that the acoustic designer who did all
yeah,
these rooms?
yeah.
He's a fantastic acoustician. All the rooms here are really, really well done, and that Atmos room is being used by a ton of people right now.
It's kind of it's been really cool because when I met Moritz, the studio owner, when I met him, the floors were still up and we were pulling cables, building desks, programming computers, and then when we got the Atmos room put together, it's been like a lot of like tweaking, small tweaks, and now it sort of has become one through technical aspects, but then also I think like the personality of the studio, like Tizio, Baines, John Castelli, Graham Cruiser, David Rudeau, Tyler Scott, like all these engineers are coming here to either mix or finalize their mixes in our room just because it translates so well to theaters, to headphones. Like it's just like a really good room that's turned out really well. So yeah,
it
I'm
is.
real
And you
proud
did
of it.
the St. Vincent album.
Yeah,
there, right?
so
in
I co-mixed that with Kian, who is the stereo mixer / one of the producers, a producer on it. So he's like St. Vincent's right hand, tracking, mixing everything. And then when it came time to the Atmos, it was his first time stepping into it, so we jumped in it together and like had a lot of fun, like taking something that was like so dynamic and putting it in that space was a lot of fun for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I think we should get into some of the geeky details of that in a little bit.
No problem.
But we are going to play back some music today. Could you tell us what we're going to be hearing today?
So this is a song called Catacombs. It's by a band called Paradise Vultures. They are a local LA band. The antithesis of this whole track or recording session, we recorded multiple songs, was that they're starting to they've been releasing songs from their record, which was when they were like a 4-piece or a 5-piece, I can't remember correctly, and now they're a 2-piece. They're a lean, mean 2-piece machine. The bass player, he's splitting his bass between a guitar rig and his bass rig, and he's singing, and then the drummer, like it's just like really cool. And so it was this thing of like, oh, we should probably capture what it's like for you two guys playing just with each other. That way, when fans or music execs or anybody, like, they're not going to be surprised by the fact that like the recorded stuff is nice and big, but that's, they're like, oh, how are two guys doing it? But now they know how two guys are doing it.
Yeah.
And so we recorded it over our mutual friend Jeff Friedel. He's got a place called Secret Hand over in Van Nuys. We recorded it there. Just one day. They're very well rehearsed, so we kind of just did 3 takes each of each song, and then just like call it a day. And like we tried to leave some of the nitty gritty of the songs in it, so that way it still feels like a live track. It's not super polished in that way.
I saw there's a music video for this as well.
Yeah, so they've been
shot by Ed Shears and
Yes.
Michelle Shears.
Ed.
Shout out.
We love an Ed.
Michelle, the best.
Yeah, Michelle and Ed, who killers, man, both of them.
Yeah.
Ed. So what they're doing is they're releasing a video per song. We did like 5 songs that day.
So is it the video they shot? Is that the recording that we're doing today?
Yeah.
Very
so
cool.
I mixed everything, and then I pretty much delivered 2 versions of it. I delivered like a YouTube, mastered version, and then I delivered one that'll go to streaming. So like once all the songs are out, the EP will come out as well, and so it'll be
So
cool.
we'll show some B-roll of that, or maybe even the original footage, just so you guys can see what that space looks like.
Yeah.
But Jeff basically designed this as his private studio, kind of like open to the public as well, but mostly as his space. So it's definitely really great drum room. I think the drums sound fantastic in there because he's a drummer.
Yes.
Beautiful API, 1608.
Yeah. Which is the other thing I did too, like for this recording. Like I was just trying to keep it real lean. And so like I stayed on the desk. He has some outboard pre's, and I was like, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm going to stay on the desk. Did some minimal miking. I mean, there's even it's a mono overhead because I was just like, I want this to feel closer to a live setting than a big polished record. That'll be in the future. We're gonna do something later that'll be like the 2-piece big polished record. For this, we kind of wanted it to just be, again, just sort of in your face and have some fun with it. So
well, let's take a listen. Let's hear what the sounds like.
Yeah. Start from the top here.
Sweet. He's got like an Eddie Vedder kind of a thing.
He's got like
going on.
definitely, like there was a part one time when I was just like, hey man, not to like stroke your ego or anything, but like you kind of got like this like dark Elvis thing happening.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like just like big belt and like there's groove to his voice, which is like it's a lot of fun to work with. He's a
I
he's a great singer. It's kind of epic actually. Like his name's Tommy. He had just had COVID, like he had just gotten over it. But we had booked the time, and he's like, I don't want to reschedule everything. So like he came in and he pushed through, and like it was a little bit of a struggle, but like that dude like really stepped it up when it was time to get it done.
Yeah,
so.
This
It's wild.
doesn't sound like kind of chill music either. Like I feel like you have to be like moving around.
Yeah,
and
if you when you guys go watch the video, you'll see like he's definitely like moving around and like trying to feel the vibe of the song. So which is kind of fun.
Where did you start with a mix like this? Something that was recorded live.
So with this, I tried really hard to, on the recording side, record a version of it that I was like, this would be good if I just released it. Like this is good enough for a live record.
So you spent some time before you even hit record, like really dialing in.
A lot of testing, a lot of kind of just the way you want to do a record sometimes, where it's like, oh, like let's spend in like 2 hours just getting drum tones and switching out snares and this tom. Okay, let's do stereo overheads. Actually, it makes more sense just to do a mono overhead. Like,
What made you decide to do the mono versus the stereo? Was it like, because I saw in there you have a hat mic and a ride mic? Are those kind of like your stereo field with the toms? And then you were like.
Yeah, it was kind of just like, because I mean, hats and the ride, I always want a little bit more control over that. But the toms, like some of the other songs that are on this sort of live EP, it's a very tom heavy. Matty, the drummer, like he's a great drummer, hard hitter, but like great tom work throughout every single song that they have. And so it's just like, how do I like really point that without trying to get too gimmicky with it almost? And when I had the overheads with the mics that were available to me, I was like, man, this just isn't feel right to me. I really want to just center this drum kit just in, because that's how it would be live, right? Live, you would just be like, okay, if I'm standing in front of the stage, I don't have necessarily a stereo field in front of the stage. I just have the drums just like coming at me. And because of that, I was just like, okay, cool, I'm going to do that. And like, I mean, even the hi-hat mic that's on there and the ride, like they're pretty quiet, I'm not using it that much.
Could we hear just that overhead?
Yeah. Let's come into here. Oh. Why isn't it playing?
Oh, weird.
What's going on?
That's sweet.
Sweet, yeah.
I like the like low end of a snare in the mono.
Wait, can you hear that right now?
Oh, you can hear that?
Oh yeah.
We can't hear that on our end.
That's so weird. Okay.
Oh yeah, I was jamming, dude.
That's so interesting. I wonder why it's not playing for us.
I'll tell you what.
Girth on that,
if anybody is watching wants a challenge, start trying to do a music
video podcast
where you're doing it remotely and in a studio.
Yeah.
It was quite a challenge.
So funny. Well, I'm glad you hear what I was going for, which was like, sort of just like.
Should we just open up a fucking browser with audio movers?
I guess so.
Chrome.
Honestly, you could, right?
At this point,
with no latency, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. To the end of the world.
In the metaverse.
Let's see if this works. Oh my gosh, what a funny.
Shout out Audio Movers. Thanks for making this possible. Could you actually solo the mono overheads?
Sure.
Right here?
Getting a little bit of his voice in it.
Yeah, a little bit. Did they have the amps and stuff? Were they in the other room in the little ISO box?
At Secret Hand there is a what usually is the drum room. I recorded this all in like what is considered the living room, live room of that space. And so both the bass amp and the guitar amp were in there, mic'd up.
They were in the living room?
No, they were in the booth.
Oh, okay.
You like flipped it.
Yeah, so I put them in there, and then in the booth, and then I covered the bass amp because it was just like a little bit too much low end in the guitar mics. Because again, like trying to treat it like with a live thought process, I put those amp cabs like right next to each other
Oh.
as they would be on stage.
Yeah, you wanted a little bit
I
of
wanted that little bit of
liveliness
play
and bleed.
between the two, because like he's using switchers and stuff, and I was just
I
like,
was going to ask that too. Yeah,
yeah,
how he's kicking in.
he's
that
kicking
guitar
everything
tone.
in, and I was just like, man, like if I split up too much, it feels like it's going to be too clean.
Yeah.
And again, like the goal was to sort
Yeah.
of like show off what they're like live, and I was like, well, like there would be bleed if I was the
Right.
live sound engineer. Like I would have to deal with the fact that like this bass amp and this guitar amp are both pushing air at
Yeah.
the same time, and like so,
I feel like it's, if you're doing a live recording like that, you kind of it's such a challenge, because it's like you want to make sure there isn't too much bleed to where it's like unmixable, but then it's also like, I remember I was mixing this song for one of my bands, and we were trying to chase that like that band Always, you know, like the vibe of them, and
yeah.
it was very overdubbed, and I was like trying to add all these room mics and things to try to like almost force this fake vibe of like, was it a band live? But it very much wasn't, and it's really, really hard to try to like fake any amount of that, you know.
Yeah,
it's
well,
like you
and
can tell it's
it was
canned.
interesting too. Like while we were tracking, I had put a verb on the vocal mic, because I was just like, yeah, you know, you would have a verb. Like, why would you not want to
Right.
sing with a verb? And because the drummer Maddie, again, he's a hard hitter. He's just like, what is that slap back? Because he's hitting loud enough
Yeah.
to get it. Even though I
Yep.
was like not, the microphones are not facing the drums. It's still in the room. It's still activating the space. That I had to like find like, we loved the verb we made, but it was like, oh, this isn't gonna work, because he felt like he was falling behind the beat.
Yeah.
So she's like, all right, scratch this.
I
This
had
isn't gonna
that.
work.
We did a Soyuz session in Detroit of this amazing, same thing, two dude band. They were prog rock band. Two dude band. This dude had like a wall of synths, these vintage synths, and then a drummer who was also the singer.
Mhm.
And all of his vocals were going through like this pedal board with like crazy delays and all that stuff. I tried mixing it for like days, and I was finally came to the conclusion that it was literally impossible, because all the drums were just going. I mean, he's playing the drums and singing, so they're all going through that slap back.
That's like, yeah.
So we ended up having to like go back and
Do
you
it
know,
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come back and do the vocals separately. Like, don't tell anybody if you
Yeah.
did. That's what I'm saying.
We'll bleep the name later. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the bleep button over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is funny. It's like it's hard to get that balance, because those guys are the same way. Like if you did all that separately, it would like suck the life out of it.
Yeah,
Like,
and I really didn't want to do that again. I wanted to just like, because I'd seen them live, and I even went to their rehearsal space beforehand, so I could just wrap my head around the songs we were doing, and I was just like, all right, cool. Like any way that I can make this feel like I'm getting pushed over.
yeah.
That's an amazing way to do it.
In the same way that I'm in this rehearsal space, like I'm gonna try and figure that out. And so
Nice.
it was very much a keep it simple, stupid scenario.
Mhm.
And then like I would think I was able to like really run with it. And so yeah.
So once
I
you
think
got
that-
it, oh, go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think that there's such a cool thing about like going and like hearing them in the rehearsal space, and like even sometimes on like songs, if I like get demos from people, or if it's like something I'm making for myself, like I feel like there's so much magic in like even like a voice memo of like an acoustic performance, that I feel like half the time I'm just like even treating that like the band in the rehearsal room, of like because recording, you know, you're looking at like a computer screen, and it can be so like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
that I feel like it's just like, how do you keep as much of whatever that like vibe that was pre-looking at a computer was, you know, like,
Well, and then
I feel like it's true.
especially for this song, like the intro originally was just kicks for the whole top. And when I went to the rehearsal, I was just like, hey man, like we're doing something different. Like you already did this way on the record. Like why don't we try this? And so we figured out these tom hits that he's doing
Could you
at
play
the
that
top
really
here.
quick?
Yeah. Let's see.
Show us the toms.
Oh, okay.
You know, to sort of follow that.
That helps a lot.
That guitar
Yeah, I
thing,
think so,
because originally
too.
it was just the
Yeah.
kick, and then
It's a pretty punchy kick too, that I
Ye-
feel like after like 30 hits of that, you'd be like, okay.
yeah, I need
Getting
some
beat to
variation.
death.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I also think that they like once we were in the room, once the mics are up, right, like everyone gets a little bit nervous, and so they also started playing this song like a little bit faster,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, guys, let's just bump up the click too, and then they settled into that, and like we did it this way.
Mm.
So it's like,
Oh, that's cool.
you know,
That's cool
originally
that you switched it.
well, because I could just tell that like they were trying so hard to stay on the click, and
Yeah.
but they were just like, both of them were just like pushing the whole time,
Yeah.
and I was like, let's settle this. And then they were missing timings and rolls together, and I was like, let's just bump it up. And then they did like a quick rehearsal for the intro to the first chorus, and then we're like, all right, cool, we're settled, and then we went through with recording. So yeah,
Nice.
I feel like tempo feels different every day. Like,
yeah,
you could listen to a song and be like, does this song sound slow? And then you can listen to it like a different day or a different time of the day, and then you're like, it sounds completely perfect. It's the weirdest.
That's I've noticed a really weird correlation with it's the same with mixing. It's the same with doing like photography and videography color correction. Something will look, if I'm color grading a video, will look warm to me, and then I walk away and come back and suddenly it's like not warm enough or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm trying to remember the video I watched where a guy was like, basically for color grading, it was like that's why you have to use some of the like measurement tools that are built in, because you can't trust your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's like I won't mix after editing drums sometimes. Like I need to take a break.
Oh,
because
dude, same.
My brain is like so in tune with like the kick and the snare that if I were to like immediately start mixing, it would then be like the most aggressive kick and snare in a mix that probably ever existed, and I would be like, well, I got to go back to the beginning,
Yeah.
So it's like,
what is? Did I already ask this? What you like whenever you sit down to mix something like this? What do you do first? Do you actually do any drum editing stuff like that?
So it depends. I'm really lucky that the last few projects that I've had to record drums on, I've had like the best drummers. Like, so this guy Maddie who's playing drums on this, like they're so well rehearsed that like even though we did 3 takes of each, they were all like I could hot swap things around really easily because he was so tight with himself and the parts. Someone like Jeff Friedel, go back to him. It's so hard not to talk about him sometimes when it comes to drumming, but like I've literally like I don't think I've ever edited his drums because like he knows how to find feel in the right spaces. He knows where to push and pull in the right places, and like even him, there's been times I'll sit down and we'll be like, all right, cool, let's do the straight take that we know everybody wants, then we'll do the looser one, and then we'll do the Jeff take where like, dude, you do whatever you feel like. And even within that, I've been able to like, cool, I'm gonna cut from all 3 of those to make something new, and it all fits really nicely. But in general, yeah, if I was like working on this and I felt like I would always try and get all the editing out of the way first. So tune all the drums, tune all the vocals, time align guitars if need be, so that things actually land on the same time. Because if the band is playing together, Steve, I don't know if you run into this at all, but like it's hard if the band is playing together, then like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna edit this.
Right.
Oh yeah, you kind of that's a tough. And I was almost gonna ask when I looked at the session, are there any moments where they like punched in, or did you? I feel like you almost have to group everything.
Literally, then, like I think for this song specifically, there's this drum right here. This is from another earlier take.
I was gonna say I saw like one edit. I feel like in
the timeline because for Ed doing the filming, I didn't want to do playlisting. I wanted it to be all the same, like all next to each other, and so I flew this in from another take, and then I think the intro we just had to go in a little bit more for the vocals. So I did like some melodyning on that, so that it was just a little. There were some parts that auto-tune just wasn't catching, but again, like I wasn't trying to do heavy auto-tune. It's a live.
It would sound weird for a song like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love me some Melodyne.
Yeah,
I know it really is the most natural.
Well, that's another thing. Yeah, like I almost feel like we need to be in other mindsets to do the tuning and the editing, and then you come back and start making creative decisions, because those feel like admin decisions.
Yeah, it's like your brain is in like hyper focus, like detail mode.
Yeah,
and you need to be in like the cohesive whole mode to mix. And,
well, because I feel like sometimes there's like headphone times and speaker times too. Like I've been trying to. I've got like a little guy, and so I've been doing more work in headphones lately than I used to. But and I've definitely had times where I try to do too much in headphones and like really shot myself in the foot. But but I feel like knowing like, because like some people are like can hear the craziest stuff that I'm like, what, like crazy little noise things that like having those to like listen for some of that I feel like can be helpful. But sometimes I'll do like the vocal tuning in the headphones, spend an hour or two, and then just like not listen to the song for like a day. And come back and listen to the speakers.
My friend Dolly, who's her artist name is Dolly Dagger. Every time we do production and mixing, like every once in a while she's just like, what is that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And like everybody in the room is like, we don't know what you're talking about. And then all of a sudden it's like, we dig, and then we find it. She's like, see, it's this weird noise here. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and then
someone told me that, and I think it's true. I Googled it. I think women can hear higher than we can, because I had such a similar situation. I worked with this artist, Lindsay, and she's amazing. And then like she had it was like everyone. It was so cool that it was like her label was this other woman, and then we had a female mastering engineer, and it was, I've never gotten like notes like this from a mastering engineer, but she was like, oh, there's like a little blip here, or like things like that, and I was like, whoa, like, what? And then I mean, it was there for sure, but
like, what are you talking about?
And I think some of it was like weird little clocking things or something, but it was just like yeah, I was like, man, I can't hear that. But yeah, people I always wonder how people are listening, like the head, because I don't usually listen on headphones a ton to stuff, but I think a lot of people, that's where they listen like mostly, so it's such a trippy thing to try to like make a song sound good in all of those different places, because they're almost like irrelevant to each other.
Well, and I think it's tough too, as an artists will always hear the worst parts themselves, right? Because they're so invested in it. Like, even if I'm producing something or tracking something or mixing something, like at the end of the day, like I'm gonna do my job. Hopefully I'm gonna do it well, hopefully, and then I'm done. And they're the ones who have to go on and live with this thing and promote it. And I think because of that mindset, they find ways to hyperfixate on like the parts that you would never hyperfixate on, and you make those small changes, and either they don't mean anything to you and you're like, all right, cool, I'm moving forward. Or sometimes, and like in my case, like with Dolly again, like I'm like, oh, that weird noise was a problem. Okay, now this is done, and
I think there's also a part of it that it just legitimately is like a massive like investment for these folks, and so like, I feel like it's fair to be like, if some bugs
I want it to be perfect.
But I think it's just tough to balance those two things, because it's like, I feel like I'm with you. I'm always on the side of like trying to retain like the magic of the first. I feel like past the first couple mixes, it can be really tricky to like, if someone tells me like, oh, I'll turn this up or down this many dB, it's hard to not just go do it, and like not like, it's hard to like still like balancing that thing of like listening to why you put it there in the first place, and then also just kind of like doing what they're asking, but like you kind of have to find that middle ground where you're like, all right, I'll try it, and then like, as long as it doesn't kind of like, the rest doesn't just start falling apart because of that change, I feel like it can happen really fast.
When, especially when it's in like dBs of like volume change, sometimes I think that gets a little too lost in the weeds. It's like, what are we really talking about here at that point? Like
there's a bigger problem.
Well, that's the thing, is like, if I'm in that finite of a space, sometimes it's warranted. I won't say that it's not, and then sometimes I'm like, I think we're focusing on the wrong thing, because this is an easy thing to focus on. Oh, it's the fact that the vocal needs to come up like 1 here and 0.5 here. It's like, or is it that the vocal is not recorded well, and we should re-record the vocal?
Yep.
And then let's go re-record the vocal.
Let's look at the vocal. What do you got going on in the vocal?
Speaking of vocals, so vocals again. Tried to keep it simple, stupid kind of thing. So got a little bit of auto-tune, got a little Pro Q, just kind of getting some low end out and some resonant frequencies, as well as fighting against some of the drum stuff that's in there.
What's your 5200 action? Is that like an S thing, or is that a drum thing? Your higher frequency cut?
This guy right here, this is like, I think this is a resonant frequency part. So let's take a listen.
Oh, okay, cool.
Forget the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Forget the Father, Son, and Holy.
I think that's his lip smacking that's going on with that one. So, put you back. Cool. Some lip smacking, taking that out. Then some Spectre, just re-adding some.
What is Spectre?
So Spectre.
I've never seen it.
Oh, I love this thing. So this is like adding harmonics in. You have different choices here, solid, warm. These are all different like odd and even harmonics and combinations of that.
That's cool.
Great thing just added it to the high end here so that like again I could
Is
get
that go ahead, sorry.
to get just some of his just a little bit more presence out of his voice, but in a nice way without just like taking an EQ and doing it, you know?
Yeah, it gets so harsh so
Forget about
fast.
problems. We'll be young and wild
Oh,
and
wow.
free. Every sinner has a future. What?
So
That really is doing some lifting.
yeah, well, because I'm fighting against the mic choices that I had to make just
Right.
be out of what was available to me. So
Yeah.
this is the Biodynamic the M88, right? That's the
The
black
ribbon?
one. No, not the ribbon, the black one. So the
Oh.
M. Oh my gosh, you think I would remember? I'm an audio engineer.
We were just talking about that mic the other
we
day.
were talking about the M88 yesterday, so let me just look it up for my own sake, and I'll say it again. M160, is that the one I'm thinking of? No, the
Oh, yeah.
That's
no,
the
the
one
M160
I was thinking
is
of.
so the M88 is the black. Yeah, so yeah, Spectre. I'm doing some heavy lifting because the mic that I had available to me for vocals was the M88, because it's just like, again, the way its access is, that was like the best way I could get the least amount of drums in the vocal mic without like putting him in a completely different room,
Yeah.
which again is defeating the purpose of this live record part. So
Yeah.
because he was also having to sort of eat the microphone, there's not a lot of this high end stuff. So by taking out some of the resonance of his voice here, adding a little bit of harmonics back in, it really helps like make his voice feel like we would want it to feel, you know. Then a little 610 or
So good.
670, always a good time. And then good old Toop.
Heyo, shout out to.
Shout
Show
out
him the
Toop.
tube.
Showing a tip.
Let's see what Toop's all about. So Steve and I, neither of us had heard of this plugin until you mentioned it.
No, okay.
Yeah,
I
I use
said-
Lossy
I said-
sometimes, but
Matt, what's a plugin you use on every mix? He said Toop.
I use
said,
Toop
did
and
you
I
spell
use
that
it a lot.
correctly?
Yeah, what'd you
And
say?
then I said, did you spell that correctly? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay.
I did. Oh
Good
yeah,
hits.
he's like, what the hell is this thing? I was like, okay. Let's see. Do I have? Let me add this in here.
show him the tube.
Show me the Toop.
Give the people what they want. More Toop.
More Toop. Always more
Which-
Toop.
Tube tape.
Yes.
Pretty
So
clever.
It's a pretty
Mm.
clever piece of machinery here. Let's do
Let me be the one you love the most. Forget the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Kiss me, baby, fix my brittle bones.
So it's just adding some really nice harmonic information, and you can get pretty extreme with it. And then over here, you actually have choices between the tube and the tape. So these are different tube styles that you have here
Oh, nice.
that can do a lot of really fun different saturation styles. And then same with like, there's these, you can do a lo-fi and just like these other tape formulas. Add some biasing, which adds some noise, not, you know, and same with the noise here. Classic, you know, mix dry. And then there's this cool comp here.
Let me be the one you love the most. Forget the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Oh, that's interesting. It's applying it like pre-saturation, post-saturation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's just super cool. It's very versatile, and then you can push the drive. So whatever you've sort of dialed in here, it sort of like can get really.
That's sweet.
Let me be the one you love the most.
So you can really dial in some of that harmonic information that you're trying to actually
Yeah.
get. You know that, you know, sometimes the studio tape machine does it perfectly, and then sometimes I need those fine tunings, and this one does it. You know, there's an EQ section as well, so you can kind of
Oh, that's cool.
decide where it's, you know, affecting it. So it's a
I
really
love the drum bleed in that mic so much. It's a perfect
Yeah.
drum room mic.
yeah,
you know?
exactly. I know, right? And that's just how hard that dude was hitting. So, but yeah,
Very cool.
I find that this thing is just like a ton of fun to use.
Let me be the one you love the most. Forget the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
It's just sort of like I'm trying to kind of create that, like the tape is getting pushed a little hard, like
Yeah.
as you would in an actual tape machine. So it's fun to it's fun to
Yeah,
sort of mess
very
around
cool.
with that. So
if you want to win a copy of Good Hurts Toop, hit the link in the description. We're giving away a plugin.
Nice.
Sure hope that's the case.
I hope so too.
Guys, we're gonna hook it up. I am the ultimate schemer.
Yeah.
You're pretty good at it. Yeah.
it's a
me and you
gift.
both are pretty good at it.
That's true, actually. This is what brought us together.
It really
The
is what brought us together.
The
Yeah.
schemers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the schemers, scheme team, dream team.
The other thing too with the vocals, I did add a little bit to the drum verb that I made just to sort of add some cohesion to it.
You added what to the? Oh, you added. I see. Okay.
Like a
yeah.
little
You
bit
tooped
of the
it.
no, well, yeah, tooped it.
We're gonna get to the catch.
Yeah.
Are you tooping it today?
Well, he tooped it.
Oh, you got it too.
You got to toop it, bro. Got to toop it. So yeah, a
First
little
thing
bit
I do in the morning.
after the
I
coffee.
toop.
Coffee first.
Yeah.
Coffee, then I toop.
Yeah.
That's not like a slur or anything. Cut it all.
Canceled
should
before
Google
we
that.
even began.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Aggressive.
we should probably Google if tooping is like some sort of a.
I
Do they
hope.
still have? Was it Urban Dictionary? Is that still a thing?
I don't know. Look it up and let me
I
know.
think it is.
Yeah. So yeah, just a little bit of vocal into the drum verb, and then it has its own reverb, which is just a little echo boy into Valhalla.
Oh, dude, I love Valhalla Room. I've been using that.
This
Ooh,
thing.
look at that EQ. You're really there's nothing there.
Well, I'm just trying to get because again,
Wow.
the vocal mic is picking up
Huh.
the room and the drums. That it's just like, what do I need? I kind of just need
This
his
is just like a little
voice.
taste.
Yeah, I just
Is
need
that
a little-
pre or post the reverb?
This is pre the reverb.
Ah, okay, that makes
So-
sense. That
so
it's more.
Yeah, because it's gonna, this is gonna add some information, and then this will add some more information. So it's
Yep.
like,
So you're trying
you
to
know.
get like the drum bleed, like weird kick stuff out.
yeah,
and
just take that out and
the
really
cymbals.
just focus on the voice, and
Yeah.
then sort of then I can mess around from there. But this,
You know, I've noticed the last guest that we had on, Steph Morrow, he does a lot of like rap and hip hop and stuff like that.
Mhm.
He was doing the same thing, if you remember, Steve, with all of his delays and reverbs. There's very aggressive
Oh, yeah,
EQ dialing
yeah,
it
yeah.
into just those mids.
well, because it's just like this thing of like, just we have a lot of options, and we can get. I think it's very easy for us to get lost in the weeds of like
Very
all the
easy.
options. And
Yeah.
so when it comes to something like this that I made, it's like, well, if I just leave it loose, it's let's take out the drum verb for right now.
Let me be the one you love the most.
That to me, and I said the same thing to Steph too, that's like amateur mix and a professional mix. It's like one of the biggest things I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like overdoing the effects.
Well, and
in a
and
non-purposeful
and
way.
I'm one to get lost in the effects because like I want
Same.
to do all the cool
Yeah.
stuff. I want to have fun
Yeah.
with all the toys, but at the same time, sometimes what does the song call for? Well, the song calls for just like a little slapbacky sort of verb that spills into the room and makes it feel cohesive with the rest of the song. Is what my goal was.
Can't go wrong with a slapback.
Can't go wrong. So
Mhm.
I feel like that's my number one note from people is pretty much always turn the vocal effects down. Like, well,
I think I'm constantly trying to make a Joy Division record, and so
Yep.
it's very hard when I'm like, they're like, oh, bring the verb down. I'm like, all right, whatever.
I
Like,
try.
we're looking to make a Joy subtraction record.
Yes,
so
yeah.
If you could go ahead. This was Dead Jokes. Part two.
I was trying to come up with a band. Who's the Joy Subtraction? Who would that be?
Joy subtraction. Is that like the saddest band? Is that like
or
the
like
Smiths?
maybe, yeah. I guess it would be. The
Is it
Smiths.
everything
Bridges.
Morrissey's saying?
Yeah. The saddest guy in the world. So,
The saddest band.
cool. So then I got the bass DI, which I'm barely using. I'm mostly using it just to get some of the pluck-in action, the attack, and then this amp here is sort of.
What was he playing through? Do you remember?
What'd you say?
What was he playing through? Do you remember?
He was playing through. He had a Fender, a big old Fender guy that he brought with him.
Cool.
Sweet.
And then
It's nice and dark.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
Mm-hmm.
and then he
got
and
some
then
good
he
grind.
and he's the only guy that I know because he's a tall dude. He's like easily like 6'5" at least. So he plays a Firebird bass, and if you've ever seen a Firebird guitar, then why are you talking to me, Siri? He plays a Firebird bass, and so it looks fine on him. It's the only
it's
person
like the
I've-
longest instrument that's
yeah.
ever been made.
It's stupid, and he plays
Yeah.
it, and he's just wielding it like any other guitar or bass player would, and he's just like, it fits him perfectly. I've held a Firebird, and I look like I already am kind of.
Oh, we don't stand a chance.
Yeah,
with
we don't stand a
Firebird,
chance.
dude.
Yeah, it's just like I'm just like, well, I guess
like those are lawn gnomes that are like, yeah, those are two lawn.
I think that's why. I feel like that's why Fender made like the Jazzmaster and the Jaguar and stuff, because they're basically they look like the same guitar, but they're different like lengths, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like, you know, there's something for everybody, you know.
There is. Yeah. Well, nice job, Fender. Really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Fender.
Yeah.
Very inclusive.
So yeah, just a little bit
That's such great.
Some good old
bass
Spectre
tone.
again.
Ooh, yeah, I like how you're using that.
It was a really good bass tone.
And then there was
Yeah, I
just
love
this thing that must have been bothering me. And then some side compression from the kick.
Ah,
Dirty
so-
bass like that, especially bass that's like consistent.
Yeah.
I have the hardest time with. I feel like that's like because it can just get so like not dynamic, I guess is the word. Like I feel like it could just turn into like a wall of mush so fast.
I think it requires, I think because Tommy is also playing the guitar, it puts him in a headspace where he can't just like let notes really ring out, because he's playing double duty, right?
Yeah.
So he has to be, I think because of that, he's just in a mentality where he has to kind of keep it tight and keep it groovy, and then yeah, having that side chain of the kick to kind of just like create that sort of similar momentum is just like really nice to be able to do, you know.
What's the DI sound like?
The DI.
Expose yourself.
Expose yourself.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's helping probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's definitely the thing that you kind of start to lose with the all that drive that having. I almost feel like having such a different sound on the amp to the DI makes sense to me, because sometimes I've tried the amp and DI thing, and then I've been like, it's that thing where you flip the phase, and I'm like, are neither right? Like it's like that weird thing. But I feel like having it be so different almost feels like it would stack up a lot better.
Well, I mean, for me, I'm just also like I'm treating it almost as two different bass instruments, right? Like they're
yeah, I like that. That's cool.
It's if I think about it as two different people just having to be playing the same thing, would I want them to have the same frequency content? No.
Right.
You know, would I want them to have the same, like, you know, I'd rather, what I'm looking for the Dace DI and what it's good for to me is, in some cases it's the editing purposes. DIs are great, whether it's bass or guitar, or in this case, like I can now lean on the amp to just be the body.
Yeah.
And the
grit
woof.
Yeah,
exactly. And then the DI can just be that attack that like we talked about, like you said 2 seconds ago, like, you know, the bass amp could easily become mush, and then I have the DI to sort of like bring in some of that attack.
Yeah. Keep it moving.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, I mean, like again, like the amps are right next to each other, so.
Is this guy widened? What's going on here?
Yeah, so this guy, the stereo
little
amp,
micro shift?
Little guitar amp here is going through a micro shift and then a verb. And then the micro shift I kind of went nuts on. Just
I think you need it on stuff. It's like I feel like guitars and keys or whatever, I just feel like they need to be like on the sides.
Yeah. And then they're panned, so it's like, you know, I panned the real amp to the left a little bit, and then some of the, because there's moments when he's not, where it makes more sense to mute the micro shift in other songs. So like, in general, I did a mix, and then I sort of kept the same throughout all the songs, just because it made sense. So
I feel like sometimes you don't want to hear the micro shift, you know?
Yes, exactly. Time adjuster, this doesn't need to be here anymore. I think I was just fucking around with how much level was going to the right side, left side at some point, so you can be bypassed. Good old micro shift. Literally, if I mean, Sound Toys has been, I mean, they're just as synonymous with mixing as owning a DAW, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah, seriously.
Some Pro Q to kind of get rid of some of the low-end buildup that it introduces. Spectre, again, you're going to see a lot of that as well. It's Tube and Spectre is a lot of my...
Is that, looking at the logo there, is that Waves
So that's
Factory?
Waveland?
Wave
Factory.
Waves Factory.
Yeah.
So I think they make Track Spacer too.
Yeah, they
right?
make Track Spacer.
I fucking love that plugin.
Yeah, that
dude.
one's really good. They also make there's a free plugin they have called it's like Snare Rattle. It's literally just to like, if you don't have an under snare mic and you wanted
No.
some rattle from it, it's literally
What?
yeah. It's just
Dude, that's so sick.
That
and
sounds
I
like
feel like
a plugin that Saturday Night Live came up with.
you
or
would
something.
yeah, but it actually works sometimes, and it's actually like, oh, okay, cool. Like I didn't have the right rattle, or like I was in a moment where I didn't have enough inputs and I want to add some more life to it. There it is. You know?
Yeah.
And
That's
no,
a helpful
cool.
thing. I never used to mic the top or the bottom of the snare. I never used to mic the top of the snare. I never used to mic the bottom of the snare. I was Ringo. I never used to mic the bottom. I don't know. Because, you solo it up like once or twice and you're like, what?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel like it's so helpful to like, so you don't have to over brighten the top and get that hi-hat killing you. You know?
Yeah.
That to have some of that like high end somewhere else. And just it's almost like a fail safe, like a second camera when you, because you can, I think it was like once, maybe it's only like one or two times I've done it, but I tried to like go down the rabbit hole of the Ringo thing, and he was snare bottom only for a while. I think maybe the early
Really?
days or something. Yeah,
Wow.
and you can get a lot of low end out of a snare bottom if you want to, and
Yeah.
like you could do it. So it's a nice like just in case thing, But I like the rattle.
I find that I end up, it's hard sometimes because unless you're like getting drums delivered by the drum doctor or working with like world-class drummers, it's like, when was the last time you changed your snares? I'm like, I don't know. I've never changed my snares on the bottom of this thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, how long have you owned it for? I'm like, oh, like 10 years. And I'm like, how hard can you tighten those snares? And it's like, it doesn't do anything because it's
You
just
get that
like,
one loose guy that's just like,
yeah, exactly. And so sometimes I just like, I'll do the bottom snare and then I just won't use it pretty much. Like, you know,
have you ever taped them? That was my move before I bought new snares, and I was like, oh yeah, these do work.
I've never taped them actually. I usually just like, I'm like, let's just switch the snares and find the snare itself and like find something else, and like, because I've had the genuine, I've been spoiled in that a lot of the studios I've worked out of have like multiple snares, and I'm like, oh,
Jeff has like a wall.
Yeah, Jeff
two
has a
walls
wall.
actually.
I used to also work at a place called Sphere Studios in
yeah.
North Hollywood, and that, I mean, the owner had 3 Black Beauties, so it's with different heads. So it was just like, oh, this one's not working. All right, let's just grab the other Black Beauty.
All with taped snare wires.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just some widening. I think in the Spectre as well.
Oh, you got some boobies on the Spectre. Nice,
it's the trip to San Diego there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
you guys know
the nuclear
That's an inside
boobies. Yeah, that is.
Nuclear boobies.
If you watch, that's always the fun. I watched Naked Gun, the first one, the movie, and like he's like getting picked up from LAX. And then he goes, at one point they're driving and he's like, everywhere reminds me of her. And then he sees those and I'm like, man, you took a really weird route to get to LA.
Yeah.
You're going.
Yeah, right? That's pretty far, dude.
Yeah, you're halfway to San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're a couple hours out, man.
Specifically with this one, you'll notice that because in Spectre you can choose how, like, which side of the field is getting affected. And so
sick.
To help even get a little bit more width, I'm doing like almost like it's like micro shift a little bit of width, Spectre a little bit of width, frequency rise, where each side has different harmonic information, and then like a little bit of S1.
Wow.
You know what you should check out as well? There's a plugin from Clevgrand called Haze, if you've not heard of it. It's another widener, because I kept working on stuff where it was like a piano or something and it was mono, and I was like, I need this to be stereo. But like I used microshift so many times that I was like, I wish it was like a little less chorusy sounding, because sometimes it's so obvious.
Well, and that's why you can see here, like, I'm not even like full mix on the micro shift, right? So
I was gonna say,
yeah.
You're doing the classic compression saturation thing where you're taking little chunks.
Yeah, I'm just
a little wider, a little wider,
little bit, and then finally once it sits where I want it to, I was like, done, and then sent it to a verb where both the guitar verb and this chorusy micro shift verb, or they're both going to this guitar verb here. So
I think that Haze thing, it like just goes in and it segments out frequency chunks, and then it just kind of pans them a little bit, and there's like a bunch of cool different presets and stuff.
Have you ever used their, I don't know if you extensively use their stuff, but they have their they came out at one point, and it must have been Black Friday era of like the holidays, and they had like a shaker for your phone, like a
oh yeah,
That
Yeah, was it
Isn't it, like,
Skaka
connected
probably?
to
Yeah,
your
the
DAW
Ska.
or
Yeah,
something?
no, not even Skaka.
Skaka?
It's like
Oh, that's the
on-
actual
it's-
plugin.
That's the
yeah.
actual plugin, but on your phone you can get like from them like a little egg shaker or a little tambourine, and I'm like, this thing's kind of saved me a couple times when I'm just
Yeah.
like, here's the beat that we're trying to figure out. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
I love their stuff. I've got all of it, and I use like the chord presser a lot, just because sometimes I'm just like, it's just like I think it defaults with like a brick wall limiter and stuff, and it's just
Nice.
normalized. And sometimes it just sounds great on stuff. You're like, when you don't want to like think about like, because like every compressor has its like little sonic thing, you know, and
Yeah.
sometimes you're just like, I want more. And there's a little EQ in there too, which is nice. So that's helpful. But yeah,
give me more.
Yeah.
I would like to have more.
But yeah,
But I feel like on your vocal there, like the Fairchild, like I feel like that's always such a safe vocal compressor for S's, you know, but like
Yeah.
some are not. And
one
like,
and I run into this weird thing specifically for myself where like I can't stand the sound of S's
same.
and what I'll do is I'll always overshoot my de-essing or my anything where I'm trying to get rid of S's, and I'm like, that feels good, and then I send it out and people are just like, yeah, there's no
It's
It's like,
Mike
I have a
Tyson.
lisp now.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, shit,
Yeah.
you're right.
No, I need to
all
go to
right.
a speech therapist.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's those moments where like I've dug in too far and like
Yeah.
I've lost perspective, and I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, you're right, I got to
I
come
think
back.
your
I did
ears
that.
just get tired too, you know. It's like I
Yeah.
feel like that's my first critique of anything I mix is like I'm always like, oh no, is this thing harsh or like. And I feel like there's a couple songs that are out there that like out of everything have like the most plays of anything I've mixed, and I'm like, it's the essiest thing I've ever made. But it's just ear fatigue too. Of like, I'm with you. I feel like the mixes that go very wrong are the ones I listen to for far too long, for sure.
Definitely.
Well, we're a little over an hour, so I think we should probably start getting towards wrapping it up.
Sure. Should I just run to the master chain or?
Yeah, let's do the master chain, and then I want to talk about the St. Vincent record
Okay,
for a
cool.
minute, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we can outro.
Sounds good. All right. So master chain. I'm just doing some food group bussing here. Just switch over to this guy. Some more toop on the drums as like a bus. Again,
Nice.
I had
Double tube.
Yep, I had some I had the Studer on it before, but this is doing the thing.
Let me be the one you love the most.
Oh yeah, dude.
Forget the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
So good.
Kiss me, baby.
So that's fun.
I like that you're 100% on that too on the wet dry.
Yeah, I don't.
Commit.
Commit or die. You know.
Commit or die.
Bass, just some little like. I think I got
Yep.
too thumpy with it on it. Guitars, some resonant pieces that must have come out from adding all the chorusing. Studer to sort of tighten it all together. A little bit
I
of
love the Studer.
compression. I think. Oh, that's
Yeah,
what I'm doing. Is
one
I'm
of
set-
mine that's almost on every mix. The Studer.
What's that? The Studer?
Yeah, I love
it's- Thanks,
So
UAD.
good.
Thanks, UAD.
Yeah.
Thanks, UAD.
And then the guitars, I'm side chaining to the vocals so they just drop a little bit when he starts singing.
Nice.
Makes it nice, and then a little pro cue on just to get rid of some other bullshit. Man, I'm pretty aggressive with this actually.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah.
Vocals. This is just a little bus compression to tighten it, glue them all together, the verbs and everything, and then a little bit of brightness.
Ooh. Oh, is this a ozone?
Yeah, or neutron, the exciter. Yeah.
That exciter. I don't know if it's
Oh,
the same
yeah.
one that's in ozone, but it's like one of my favorite saturations. Sometimes I'll bring up ozone just to use that exciter.
Yeah, just to just see what's
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's some fun stuff with this for sure, just to like get it that little bit of brightness. I was sort of experimenting with this because like I kept seeing ads from Isotope being like or Native Instruments and just like, oh, like this is the only thing you need to like master a record. I'm like, is it? All right, let me see what happens. And so like I was like, let me do like the most limited amount of mix busing and try and stick with only Isotope stuff just to see what will happen. It was more of a challenge to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so this thing is awesome just for a little bit of brightness on the top end. Some Oxford limiter that's like, again, doing very little just to kind of get a little bit of more push on it. And then Ozone 9 here, again, just I was like, all right, well, let me see what happens if I use like way more modules than I would normally use, like just to try it, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's a vintage EQ, some more exciter information, a little bit of imaging, trying to like, you know, center that low end, and you know, nothing too crazy, nothing's at like 100%. A little bit of vintage comp, and then a little vintage limiter, set to the modern setting. That's a big key thing there. Just because.
Let me be the one you love the most. Forget the Father, Son, and Holy
Wow,
Ghost.
yeah. That analog one sounds like you're like putting a blanket over it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it literally is like, you know, speaking of Beatles, it's just like, you know,
Yeah.
here's this blanket across the whole thing because we only have so many channels to begin with, you know. But yeah, and then
this, I assume, this didn't go out to a mastering house. This was
I sort of just like it was the buck end stopped with me. You know, they came to the studio. We did a bunch of revisions. We contemplated our pillows. Came back, did a couple more revisions, and we're like, all right, cool. This is for what this is and what we're trying to do with it. This works.
Nice.
You know. So
did you mix that here or at Secret Hand?
I mixed that here,
Cool.
at good old Just for the Record, because I mean, this is home. You know,
This is home.
This is home.
Well, before we wrap up, let's talk a bit about this the St. Vincent record. So I assume you did that in the PMC Atmos
correct,
room.
Yeah.
Yeah, full PMCs. Shout out to Russ at RSPE who helped integrate everything here. But yeah, it is really an amazing room. It's kind of like, it's almost like a mastering room. I mean, it's just like a little desk. We'll show some footage of it.
Yeah.
So you can check it out. How did you get involved with that project?
So really what it was, so Moritz, I mean, I've had some interactions with Kian. Moritz was having some more frequent interactions with him just through some dinners and stuff. And had kind of just like mentioned to him a couple times. He's like, hey, if you need to do the Atmos, like let us know. We'd be happy to help you. And then it just sort of happened. Like all of a sudden I got a text from Kian. He's just like, hey, can we chat? Got on the phone, talked about some budgets, talked about some workflow stuff. And he's like, all right, I'll get back to you. I think that was early December. And then January finally got the call. It's like, all right, we're doing this. And we spent a week on it. It was really cool because, you know, I had my way of doing things that I had sort of like developed some templates and some workflows for
Atmos specifically.
Yeah. And so I was like, all right, Kian, like, here's my, like, I don't hold any secrets, clearly. Like, I'm showing everybody everything. Like,
write it down.
Write it down.
Write it down.
It's like the secret sauce in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, what's the secret
whatever.
sauce?
Tomatoes.
I also like try really hard. I tell people all the time, I maintain the right to be wrong. You know, like, I'm always ready to learn something new. I'm always ready to be, like, to keep trying to become better at my craft, you know.
Yeah.
And so because of that, Keen, you know, he sat down and we were both so open with each other, and he was just like someone who had never worked in Atmos but is an amazing, you know, mixer. Steve, I think you had mentioned Waves earlier, the band, or Always?
I think I was talking about Always.
Maybe it's maybe it must be a different band. Well, Kian has mixed like a lot of really great records. I think he worked under Eric Valentine. Like, he's
the best.
Like Kian is a record maker, you know. So it was like fun to sort of work with him, and like, you know, every once in a while he would do a thing in Atmos, and he'd be like, "Is that a good idea?" I'm like, "I don't know. Does it sound good? Like, let's take a listen." And I'd be like, "Yeah, dude, I think that's fucking dope." And like, it was something that I would have never thought to do.
Yeah.
And so it was just like this really cool back and forth. And then because he was the stereo mixer, if like there was something where we were like, hey, can we break out the stems a little bit more? Yeah. He was able to just like go to his Pro Tools session and be like, all right, cool, synths broke, you know, we could break out the keys and the synths a little bit more, which was like super cool. And it was just like a really beautiful collaborative experience.
That's really cool. Is
Is
that pretty normal to have the stereo mixer like being hands-on in the room like that, or is it usually like?
For me, it's like 50-50. So because the room is at Just for the Record is like kind of building a name almost for itself in a way. Like, we'll have engineers come. Sometimes they'll request me to be with them to help them finish up the records, and I'm always happy to do that. And then sometimes they're just like, yeah, I got this. I just need help getting plugged in. But like, you know, me and Graham Cruiser, there was a Kid Leroy track.
Another PMC
guy. Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Can't get away from them. Hey, you know what? I used PMCs for a very long time before these beautiful 8.2s and 6.2s came out. So
there you go.
I'm a big.
You're not jumping on the bandwagon.
I was a 8.82 6.62, which
nice.
or 2.26, whatever.
Yeah, 2.26.
Yeah. See, now I don't even know anymore.
So long ago, I haven't heard that name in years.
So long ago. But he had done a stereo mix for a Kid Leroy track that was going to come out for the documentary that was recorded, and they needed an Atmos, and he gave me a call. He's like, hey, can we do it together? And he came by, and I dropped the stems into my template that I have that is always developing and trying to be better and get better at it. And we knocked that out. We'd made some tweaks together and sent it on out. So
very cool.
It's mostly really about becoming trusted that you can get the job done in a way, and you're not a douchebag. Or
so much of the recording industry just comes back to that.
It kind of does, because I think there's like an era shift happening where it's like, just because you're the best doesn't mean people want to work with you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are kind of spending their own money sometimes.
Yep.
Even people on major record labels are spending their own money, and the record labels are just handling distribution and promotion.
Yeah.
And so because of that, like, they don't want to work with the worst person who maybe has the best compression skills or the best mix skills, because like there's
10 people behind them who are also really good and
chill to work with.
People are also experience. Like, especially some of the artists that have been around a long time, like like a lot of those Lifehouse records were like Sterling mastering or something, and like lots of like Chris Lord-Alge mixes and all that stuff. But I think at a certain point it's like it's fun to just like hear new things, and I think like the vibe shifts too, of like what people are like, like what genres are really popular, and then who makes that stuff, and then those things kind of change, and then I think people are like, it's so easy to want to be like, I've tried so many mastering people, like to just be like, what about maybe we should try another one, like it's just always like the what if is well,
I think
infinite.
you're totally right about like the times are just changing. We're like, I don't know if this is because of Atmos or just like in tandem with it, but I feel like we're seeing like a return to dynamic mixes now. Like the days of the Chris Lord-Alge screaming wall of sound is like kind of going away.
I feel like those Taylor Swift records are very dynamic and very
I mean, the new Billie Eilish record is very dynamic. Like, I mean, talk about quiet to loud moments, and that St. Vincent record also, just like there's these moments that are just feel so quiet and comparatively.
I think even Olivia Rodrigo stuff too. I feel like very much that, and then like genre hopping within song, and it's like, whoa, this is like such a different thing.
I love her stuff. That's one of the ones that like surprised me. I was just listening to like Atmos music. I was like, oh, check it out.
Well, and that's just like it. I think that comes down always to like the chain, right? It's like good producer, good tracking engineer, good mixer, good mastering engineer. Like, everybody believes in the project, and it allows for the project to come to fruition. I mean, money plays a big part, but at the same time, like, this is music. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I got into this because I love music, and I want to be a part of the record making process more than anything, whether it's doing live records or working on, St. Vincent Atmos records. It's just like, to me, it's all, it all lends itself to each other to learn, especially in Atmos, right? Because like the Echo Smith self-titled, I did the Atmos mixes for that, and I got stems from Michael Brower. And
so cool,
opening up those stems and looking at it, like, screw mix with the masters, like that was cool to like solo something and be like, man, I would have like there's certain guitar parts, and I was like, I would have cleaned that up more, and he didn't. And I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe I'm overthinking this, you know, maybe I'm
just was it, what kind of cleanup stuff, like timing or like amp noise, or
just amp noise? Like, even like before the solo kicked in, it was like you heard just like the amp kick on, and it wasn't even like short kick on, it was like bang, and like go into the solo, and I was just like, man, I would have dragged that region all the way up
I'm so like spectral denoise constantly.
Well, what I mean is like the region, I would have went all the way to
where the transient starts.
Where the transient starts, and then cool. But like that stuff was left in there. Some
he mixed that that El King record that was really big.
Yeah.
And that record was so energetic that I was like, man, how is he? And you watch the video and he's just like moving faders.
Browerizing.
He's browerizing it.
Yeah.
But he's not tuping it, but
he's
you
not
know.
He's not
tuping
tuping
it.
it.
He's
You
not
got to
tuping it.
toop too.
But
Yeah.
Toop only happens in the morning, guys. So.
That's true. Yeah.
If
After a
this
certain time of day,
if this giveaway doesn't happen, it's gonna be a nightmare to edit this episode.
Yeah, the next episode we're gonna be like, in the previous episode we talked about tuping. We want to address.
Yeah, we just want to let you guys know we heard it. We heard that in Eastern
We want to
Europe,
get ahead of this
tuping
thing.
is seen as a yeah. But I don't know, man.
Man.
To me, like, it's just it should be fun to make records, and I think people want to have fun making records as best as they can, because at the same time, it's also art. It's vulnerable. So how do you package that up as an engineer, right? Because like the facet of your job can change in so many different ways. As a producer, it can change in so many different ways. You know, there's so many times I'm working with somebody where I have to like wait a little bit till I can figure out that they actually want my actual input versus like just like some not placations, just, you know, stroking the ego a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so
I think that's such a thing. The like warm up time to like I feel like it can go very right or very wrong.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And even when people are just like, I mean, there's things that people obviously just don't like, but I feel like sometimes if you like just start like throwing reverbs on sometimes early or certain things, it's like people can be so hesitant, you know, and it's fair because it's new information, you know. But I think I feel like when it's so much easier when that trust is built, and then you're like, oh yeah, like I can't, like you start going more to your normal things that you know work and sound cool in the car and stuff like that, and then they like. I feel like it's always nice to get to that point where you're not like trying to rethink everything and find something completely different than you've ever done, you know, to like, cause someone has an idea of something and then you're like, for me, it's like always the slapback thing. I feel like, and burying those like tape echoes down in the mix and just cause it does something to like, you know, and I feel like sometimes people see those things get turned on and they're like, whoa, what is that? You know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's, you know, burying those parts is you're trying to create vibe, you know, and hopefully
it's not in your face, it's just livening up everything.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, it's, you know, kind of like what I did with the guitars, right? Like, you know, that micro shift thing, it's all incremental to create the thing that fits for this moment in this song. And I don't know if I'll ever use that again. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's okay.
You just had a thing that you needed to accomplish, and that's the way that you did it.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing the mix. Yeah. Thank you for sharing the background on the new St.Vincent record. Yeah. Very cool that you got to be part of that.
Thank you so much.
Don't forget to sign up for the plugin giveaway. The link is in the description. And make sure to check out mixminute.com because so far we're doing giveaways with like every episode. You're welcome. So check the website to see what's still active right now. Maybe you'll get lucky and win something. Thanks again, Matt. Thank you guys, Steve. So much.
Good to meet you, man. That was so fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And we'll catch you guys in the next episode.